Hi, Otto here for Bavarian Autosport. Today we're going to be installing the DICE FM modulation interface. This unit allows you to play your iPod or iPhone and eventually an MP3 device directly through your BMW radio on earlier model BMWs. With that, we're ready to do the installation on this E36 3 Series. First, for the install, we'll be installing the unit behind the glove box, running a cord up and over and into the back of the radio. So we'll be removing the glove box and we'll be removing the radio. Installation here on the glove box. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, and there are 2 here and here behind the heater ducts. Let's get ready to go. These screws are Phillips head screws. We'll use our Phillips head screwdriver for that. First, we need to remove the glove box light. We'll use a flathead screwdriver, and at the rear of the lens there's a little notch. We simply go behind and pry to remove the light. Pull the light rearward as there is a switch arm on the light. Disconnect the electrical harness and set the light aside. We'll now remove the screws for the glove box. Okay, we now have all 8 screws out, and we first remove the upper duct panel. There we go. Just set that aside. Now there's another bolt securing the glove box assembly right up behind where the light was. It's a 10 millimeter, and we'll remove that. And now the box is ready to come out. We will have the wiring for the glove box flashlight to disconnect. Pull the wiring for the light out and disconnect the plug for the glove box flashlight here. Actually, we can just leave that connected and just lay the glove box down. Now we'll be installing the RDS control unit in the cavity here and running the connection wire to the antenna up behind to the back of the radio, and our device wire, be it the iPod or the auxiliary input, will come through the glove box. We could also run it anywhere we want. We could run it under the console and have it come out somewhere in the console. So we'll determine that as we go along. Okay, now we're ready to start our installation. This is the RDS control unit, and we'll be installing this somewhere back in here. Exact location is not important. We just need to be clear of the glove box, which just installs in this area. We could install over on the side over here. There's also room over here on the driver's side of the opening. And since there's no specific pocket within the module carrier here, in this vehicle, all of the holes are taken. What we'll do is zip tie the unit in place just so it's held out of the way of everything else. Now in doing that, this is our antenna connection. This is what will connect between the vehicle's antenna wire and the radio itself, so that we can inject our FM signal directly into the radio. You'll notice that the connector here is what we would just call a domestic connector. It's what you would have on all older domestic cars and the older BMWs. If you had a 80s model, let's say 325 or a 528E, for example, these would plug directly into the radio and the antenna line. This vehicle has the later European style plug, and we'll use an adapter for this. We have the adapter that goes to the radio end and the adapter that goes to the antenna end. And we'll show you how to put these together. It'll change this plug into this style plug. We also have the wire for our infrared remote control, which allows us to fully control an iPod device through the RDS unit, and to change our stations if we want to run on a different station with the FM modulator because of any interference that might be in the system. We have our power wire for the RDS control unit. This has 3 wires on it, a ground, a constant 12 volt, and an ignition 12 volt source to turn the unit on so it doesn't stay on all the time. And finally, the iPod connection wire, the USB connection wire for the iPod. So all of those will need to be connected to the unit. Again, the power wire, simply find a good ground, a 12 volt ignition source, and a 12 volt constant source. This plugs in right here on the unit, like that. Then we have the USB. I'm not going to plug it in right now. Goes here. And the infrared plugs in here at this green port with this plug. Now, the infrared you'll need to run from the glove box cavity to a spot where your remote control can basically aim at the sensor. This can be on top of the dash, on the console, any place you choose. But you would run it from inside the glove box cavity, say down along the console and up, or from above, around, and up the A-pillar over to the top of the console as well. The iPod connection cord, we would run that to the place where we want to be plugging our iPod in. Some people may wish to just keep the iPod coming from the glove box. You could run the cord in there very easily up and over, and then you can grab the cord, plug your iPod in, either throw it back in the glove box, or the cord is plenty long. Can have it sit on the seat, or for a cleaner installation, run through, down, under the console, push up under the edge of the console, and into the center console, and have the wire come out through the center console area, or any place that you wish. Now we're going to remove the radio over here and show you the antenna connection. The early BMW radios are secured with two security screws, one here behind little doors. We can open these doors with a small pry tool, or usually with our fingernail. Okay, and we have a special tool for this. This is similar to an Allen head screw, except it's not 6-sided, it's 5-sided. So we have a special radio removal tool. Simply go into the screw like that, and we unscrew until the screw stops. It won't remove, it will stay captive with the radio. We simply go counterclockwise until it stops. Okay, now just pull the radio out like this. Now, as long as we don't disconnect the power to the radio, we will not have to re-enter the security code. But if you do, there, I pushed a button on the radio, and we'll need to turn the ignition on and back off to stop that security beeping. Okay, we turned off the beeping by turning the ignition on and back off, and that reset the security system. If we touch any of the buttons on the face of the radio, it will start to beep again. No big deal, just turn the ignition on and back off. Okay, now that we have the radio out, we'll disconnect the antenna wire, the larger wire here. Simply pull it off. Okay, now we're going to run the antenna wires from the RDS control unit, from the glove box cavity, up to the radio opening. We'll run behind the steel bracket for the glove box, below the duct, and we can get right into the radio cavity through here. So we'll run those wires through there and have them come out here, and then we'll install our adapters. So we'll start here, going behind. And we're through the first part of the bracket. And we'll go up through the second part there, and run the second wire there. Okay. Now, if you feel, there's a little hole right here, and we'll go right up through there, and reach through the radio cavity. Grab the wire and pull it through. Same for the male section. And pull through. Now we don't need to go very far with this because we're just connecting our adapters. Okay, now that we have our antenna connections from the RDS control unit run through the radio cavity, and we've got our original antenna connection, we need to install the adapters for this particular model, going from what we're calling the standard early or domestic style to the European style connectors. We will install this into the female wire. That gives us the Euro style connector there. And we'll install this end onto the radio. Like that. Okay. Now this other end goes to the wire from the control unit. And with that, the final connection is the original antenna wire to the adapter on this end. There we go. Now that's all set. We're connected. The RDS control unit is in line with the antenna line, and when we turn that on and tune a station, it will inject the signal directly into the radio as if it were coming right through the antenna line without actually transmitting it over the airwaves. So it's nice and clean. We'll move these wires back in, reinstall the radio, and then for the final part, we have again the wire for the infrared receiver. We can run it under the console to the center, or through the glove box, and eventually up to the top of the glove dashboard, wherever we'd like to have that. And finally, the connection for the iPod itself is this wire. On this particular application, for the moment, we'll just leave it in the glove box, so we'll just run it through into the glove box. Again, this can be run behind the console, down underneath, and come out anywhere in the center console area, or under the side of the console, any place that's convenient for you and where you would want that to be. With that, the installation would be basically complete. We had our power wires, the positive, negative, and ignition source, the USB iPod wire, the infrared wire, and our antenna connections. And we're very complete. We're ready to put the glove box back in as soon as we finish running these wires, and the radio goes back in. Very complete and ready to play at that point. That's really all there is to it. With other chassis, the only difference is going to be how and where you might mount the control unit, and removal of the radio on all of the earlier BMW models would be the same as this one, with the security screws and the special radio screwdriver. So with that, we're done. We're ready to complete the installation and then listen to our music.